Thank you very much. I'm Oliver Studd, the CEO and founder of Valhalla Network, a decentralized banking system owned by the people, operating for the people. So most important question, why am I here today? So today there's a serious misunderstanding of the role banks play in society. They're still being thought of as financial intermediaries, moving money from one person's account to another. In reality, they're more like wizards. They create money out of thin air. And the power to create money impacts your everyday life and which industries do well versus which industries do bad. So if banks are the backbone of the economy, small businesses are the lifeblood. They account for roughly 2/3 of total employment, and they rely heavily on bank funding. Despite this, banking systems across the world are concentrating as big banks buy up the smaller banks. And research shows that as bank size increases, they're more interested in lending large amounts to large businesses. They're not interested in small businesses. To amplify the problem, banks are increasingly lending for unproductive purposes, such as mortgages. This results in recurring boom-bust cycles and recessions, which results in increased inequality, increased bankruptcies, and increased unemployment. So what's the solution? Well, we need to enhance credit availability to small businesses. We need to increase the loans that we're able to give to them. We need to decentralize the banking system by setting up many small, locally focused community banks. We need to democratize finance and the people's access to central bank credit lines. Germany has done this very well through their Sparkassen business model, and they're now a world leader for net exports. So how's Valhalla Network going to do it? Well, we're going to set up a decentralized autonomous organization, a DAO, a member-owned community with distributed control and governance mechanisms. Decisions and proposals are put on chain, so everything is transparent and increased accountability. We will actually execute our mission through 2 phases. Phase 1, the establishment of a for-profit Eurozone bank, and then the establishment in Phase 2 of a global community banking network. Now, Phase 1 primary objective is to increase positive real-world cash flows to the DAO early on in its infancy to support token holders. It has been designed by Professor Richard Werner after 30 years of studying the intricacies of banking. It has been designed to be capital efficient. It has the lowest risk asset class on its balance sheet, and yet it achieves an ROI of over 500% in 5 years. After Phase 1 is completed, we'll move on to Phase 2, the building of a community banking network. Each community bank will be ethical, traditional banking, lending only to small businesses. It is customer-centric. It's based on the German Sparkassen business model, a tried and tested business model. After 10 years, each community bank will have created over 5,000 new jobs, and each community bank will have paid dividends to the DAO of over 10 million euros. Our team, well, our chairman, Professor Richard Werner, is the inventor of Quantitative Easing. He's the author of Japanese #1 bestseller, Princes of the Yen. His documentary on YouTube has been watched over 3.7 million times. The rest of the team has broad experience across previously building a DeFi staking protocol and extensive banking regulatory experience. Our advisory board, who we work very closely with, contains a former #2 of GLS Bank and several FCA-regulated persons. To date, we have raised over 7.5 million euros in funding. We launched in January with an oversubscribed seed round, and now we're over 70% through our Series A. Over 80% of the money we actually raise will be sitting in a bank account for our Tier 1 equity for our Phase 1 banking license. This means that if for some reason we are unable to get our banking license and we no longer proceed with the project and investors want their money back, over 80% of the money is actually sitting in the account ready for investors to have it back, meaning there is controlled downside risk, unlike most crypto projects. So far, we've started building out the DAO tech, and we've started writing our banking license applications. Last week, I was actually in Liechtenstein, where we're going to be establishing the Phase 1 bank for Token Summit and meeting for regulators. If the right conditions exist, communities all over the world can thrive. Together, we can build these conditions. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.